What's up guys, Leap Daniel here. I'm coming at you with a budget purple deck. It only runs commons and uncommons. So this is a really good one to share with all the noobs, anyone who's just getting in with the release of the game, because if you don't have the rares or the mythics found in a lot of deck lists, this is a really great one to start with. But it's also good even for very experienced players. If you look at my win rate with this deck, I went 7-2, and I even played against several champions. Not champions this season, although I think one actually already was, but champions from last season. This season's only just started, so there aren't that many. So I think this deck is really powerful. It's kind of aggro. It runs a lot of minions to use Coliseum of Strife effectively. The few non-minion cards you do use are Juiced, Loadout Armory, 1 Juke, and 2 Muttonmorphosis. Juiced and Loadout Armory and Juke are all ways to buff your minions, so those help you trade as well for Coliseum of Strife. And Muttonmorphosis, even though it targets the enemy minion, it still leaves something there for you to trade with. So it's kind of built around Coliseum of Strife. The idea is that breaching, some of the minions from this new expansion have Breach, Judo Garudo, and Backchannel Captain. The Captain's Hat offers you Breach. So I thought that was a really good synergy with Coliseum of Strife, because if your opponent blocks you, you get the Coliseum of Strife benefit, and if they don't, then you get the Breach benefit. And Judo Garudo, I gave it 1 star when I reviewed it, but you might not have noticed this. I didn't until I started building this deck. It's actually a 3/4 now. They buffed it. So now I think it's actually pretty good. This deck is pretty powerful, and I want to show you some of the games that I had. Alright, this guy, 1 Iric, is actually already a champion. You can see he's a champion. So I burned Judo Garudo, forging it, but I don't play anything. My Racer and Shadow would just disappear if I played it. It's banished at the end of your turn. You want to use Racer and Shadow to trade. I burn Shinobi of Smoke because I have a 2nd copy. I play Battle Chef. He plays this fairy. I mostly ignore it for a while because I don't really care about him gaining life too badly. I play Shinobi of Smoke over there since it can teleport, and then I could trade with his fairy. He's got a ton of ice spikes in his hand, so he uses 1 on my smoke to stun it, so his fairy can keep poking and gaining him life. And here I get my buffed back alley Ronin. He stuns that this time. But now, Juiced is amazing. And Smoke has teleport, so giving Juice to Smoke lets him move around as well. It's like impelling him and buffing him. So I go and trade with his fairy. I spread my board out. He doesn't have Magmatar, so it's not that big of a deal. But this is a very resilient board, and he never completely breaks it from here. So he's drawing for options. He has Magnus, but even Magnus won't totally deal with what I've got. So I burn Loadout because I've already played most of my minions. And I just play Backchannel Captain. I decide not to use the Walk Shield, I just want to draw. So I use Captain's Hat. Get rid of his artifact so he can't gain life. And here comes Magnus. He kills the left side of my board, but everything else is still intact. I use my racers to get rid of that Magnus so I can draw again. And at this point, it's just the march to victory, really. He has Cataclysm, but he doesn't have enough life to use it. It would deal 5 damage to him as well, so he has to burn it. He searches for the right canine, but he doesn't get anything, and that's it. So that's how you beat a champion with all commons and uncommons. He had a lot of mythics and whatever, it didn't matter. We had a solid assembly of consistent commons and uncommons. All right, next up, Silver Arrow. He got champion last season as well. You can see his border is clearly showing a champion rank formerly. So I burned my most expensive cards first. I have a lot of duplicates in hand. That's not very good, but I figure turn 6, you're not going to use it. So nothing really to do here. I used juiced. I don't know if I should have saved that or not. It only gave +1/+1. It could have given a lot more. But I want to go fast. I decide to burn Judo Garudo and make a trade before he can cover the field with more deserts. I draw another juiced. And he left himself open, which means my back alley Ronin should be online if I decide to play it here. And I think I do. Yeah, there we go. But he destroys it with that Storm Seer. Now a juiced where I can properly get 3 boosted. I spread out a bit. His whole field is desert now, so I gotta make my attacks count. Everyone will lose me 1 life. So it's looking pretty rough for me. But I do have terragon. So my goal here is to go for the kill because he's got more advantage than me. So I have to take away more life really quickly. So now my second terragon in hand can give me more overrun, but it's not quite enough. So we're both at 5. And the problem is that if either of his Marty cores dies, he can deal 3 to face. So he chose not to deal that to face. I don't know if that was smart or not, but here I have victory because I drew Racer and Shadow. So that one was very close. Okay, but I still managed to pull it off. Those terragons really put in work at the end for you to boost your minions and deal extra damage. Okay, so I showed you 2 wins. It's only fair I show you a loss now. I opened pretty good with a lot of low-cost stuff. I play Simuzen. And then this Storied Martyr with the Coliseum boost really got me. because there's nothing I have that can trade into that nicely. And then the Ultra Gym keeps it fit. And I want to just get rid of it before he can buff other rebels. So I use up my biting blade. And I think that's... maybe I shouldn't have burned the second Sword Saint so that I had another biting blade and I could survive whatever aggro stuff, because playing rebels I should have known that my opponent was aggro. So, you know. And now he's just getting good trades all over the place. I removed his rebel, but it wasn't enough. That Rye Trickster puts in a lot of work, and you don't suffer the demise effects if it just never dies. So it has some pretty good synergy that I hadn't picked up on earlier with Hyperfit Ultra Gym. So, and then Insta Beast on a Frenzy minion put me over the edge, and there I go. I'm dead. So, but that was against 3 current and or former champions. The deck did pretty well even against champions. It got 2 out of 3. So definitely, you know, if you have any friends who are new to the game or who are just starting out and don't have too much rares or mythics, show them this. Let them use this as a base to build off of. And you can still throw in some rares or mythics that you have, but this is a good starting base where you probably have most of the commons and uncommons. And even the ones that you don't, you can just adjust the ratios. Like you can use Steam Bun or another Shinobi or something if you're missing some of these cards. So I think this is a pretty good one. Peace out.